This is Mainstream Metaphysics with your host, Nick Newmont.
Well, welcome to Mainstream Metaphysics. It's good to be back. Hello there, I am Nick Newmont coming to you on a very warm Tuesday night here in Southern California, and joining me back in Southern California is good friend and astrologer Lisa Allen. It's good to see you.
So happy to be back. I've missed you guys.
Yeah, you were away. I mean, doing the show tonight, I'm not exaggerating. I'm saying it's good to see her because I haven't seen her until walking into the studio.
Indeed.
So
I've been in Montana, I've been in Arizona, I've been in Southern California, and just trading back and forth, for like a long time. San Diego, just everything. So, yeah, and I'm here in Los Angeles till the end of July. So,
well, it's good to have you.
Yeah, I'm really excited about tonight, and I love our topic tonight.
Oh, it's going to be fascinating.
Everybody.
Yeah, we when we were on the phone the other day, we could have actually recorded those conversations and played it tonight. Before we dig into tonight, I want to say a couple things. First of all, thank you to everyone with all the well wishes of Audrey and mine 25th wedding anniversary. Everybody, you say to us, thank you, that we're so cute and all that, but you're cute in the way that, and people love.
Yeah, they do.
And Audrey and I are two Librans, so.
There's only three, I'm not even kidding you when I tell you this, Nick. There's only three, like I guess semi-famous couples that I even pay attention to. You and Audrey are one of them.
Thank you.
Okay, the other ones are Monty Farber and Amy Zerner. And then I have dear friends in North Carolina that but they're in a different field, but they're very prominent as a couple.
Thank you.
Because it's an energy thing, it's a frequency thing that I notice, and you guys embody that to me very much.
Thank you so much.
So,
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I really do.
I know what I'm looking for, and I know what it is that it's rare. It's a jewel. It's way more rare than lottery winners or anything,
Yeah, because it is a fortunate thing to have someone in your life.
Absolutely.
You match up so well with.
Yeah.
Tonight we are coming to you after weeks being off. I want to say congratulations out to Westlake High School softball. The varsity season went about 3 weeks longer than it normally does because they not only made the playoffs, the varsity team, which I do help with, went all the way to the CIF championship game, lost in that one, and then because of that, made states and lost in the semifinal. But congratulations, and of course, my JV team had the best season they have ever had in the history of the school.
That's
so
great.
I'm proud of them. But it's good to be back, and when softball season ends, then I think the world picks up on it. I'm talking about my clients, because I adjust my schedule as much as I possibly can and work more hours. But it was like magic. As soon as the season was over, it was just, my phone blew up.
Wow.
And I'm grateful and appreciative.
Absolutely. I can tell you that my own, not just clients, but friends as well and family, that things have been just popping off. And I know it's Gemini season, but since the full moon, it seems like just so much energy is moving right now. It's taken a little bit off of the, after the weekend, but I think part of it was that square, the Mars-Uranus square, the Jupiter-Saturn square over the weekend. Along with the full moon in Sagittarius.
When my clients call me, with Lisa and I as astrologers, this show, even though we have sort of a script we want to follow, it could go from here to here to here to here because of all the topics. Now, when I do private readings for people and they say, hey, I want to travel, one of the things I learned is that to check and see if there's any Mars-Uranus or Uranus-Mars squares, because those can be accident-prone.
Accidents.
Yep. So
I have a
don't-
story about that. I'll share it another day, but it's pretty
So,
funny.
we have to watch that, and of course, Mars, because Uranus, it has a lot to do with acts of God and the weather and things like that.
Absolutely.
So when Mars squares Uranus, that's like setting off a bomb that triggers a fault line.
Absolutely. What I will say about Uranus, though, is that I do notice that Uranus never destroys something that is supposed to be in existence. In other words, if the foundations of it are solid, Uranus will rise the vibration of that. But when it's not right, it destroys it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, and that's fascinating because with the Uranus modern since
81, I think.
Yeah,
1781,
the disco-
1789.
Right.
1780 something.
When Uranus came into be to become the ruler of Aquarius, prior to that, for centuries, millennia, Saturn was the ruler of Aquarius.
I still use Saturn for the ruler because it makes sense for things happening in the physical world, but Uranus can be something to look at for what's happening psychology-wise, too.
Right.
So, yeah, but I'm a Capricorn, and I have a lot of Saturn kind of stuff. So, of course, I'm probably going to use the, if you will, the ancient traditional rulerships. I just find that they work better for me. It doesn't mean that I actually learned with Uranus as the ruler of Aquarius. So I feel somewhat Uranian already myself, just as a personality too.
Sure,
I don't
sure.
feel like I'm always
what
look
is
at my
your
lifestyle lately.
What's your rising sign?
My rising is 29 Gemini, so I have this whole thing that we're talking about tonight. Square my ascendant.
So, as I learned, and I had an old timer as a teacher, that as we age, after age 40, we become less of our sun sign and more of our rising sign. It's part of how we evolve.
Interesting. I've heard that we are our moon signs when we're kids and grow into our sun signs, except for Capricorns, because we are so good at denying our own needs that we do the opposite. So we are our sun sign when we're young, and we are our moon sign as we get older.
And what's your moon?
My moon is in Leo.
So you shine more.
Yes. Yes.
That's great. When we
I'll take it both. I'll take both Gemini and
Right.
Leo. Okay, I'll take it.
When you go from in a personal chart from the sun all the way to Pluto, including the rising sign, we've got 10, 11 different aspects, not including the part of fortune,
That's
not including the
right, yeah.
nodes of the moon, of what rounds out our chart. And you could be a sun sign, you could be a Pisces, but you could only have the sun in Pisces. Your Mercury could be in Aries, your Venus could be in Aquarius,
Yep.
and so you're not going to be very Piscean
Right.
just because you were born on March the 10th as a Pisces.
Yeah. Well, and in the Pisces description, you will probably also want to take note of your Jupiter and the sign, because that'll come through a lot more too.
Right. Before Neptune was
Yeah.
discovered, Jupiter was the ruler of
I
Pisces.
use Jupiter as the ruler, but I also look at Neptune for just the other layer that I talked about earlier, like the psychological layer. I definitely think it operates.
One of the things that
And I've always thought that Neptune was a higher vibration of the moon rather than Venus, because I know that I was taught that it was a higher vibration of Venus. I don't think so. I think it's a higher vibration of the moon. It's just the way that it's worked out, but maybe because I have the moon square Neptune and Venus square Neptune, both,
Right.
so I'm looking at that, and I just think that it's more of a moon resonance, particularly with when the moon in classical astrology would rule sleep and dreams, and that's what Neptune,
the 12th house.
yeah,
Yep.
it's a bigger frequency of the moon to me.
in these times right now that we're observing, and when it comes to major planets aligning with each other, where they don't align with each other very often, like for instance, back in the spring of 19, many astrologers were talking about the Pluto-Saturn conjunction that would take place in January of 2020, of all things in the sign of Capricorn.
Late Capricorn, yeah.
And we actually said how challenging 2020 was going to be, especially when it comes to the economy and things like that. And sure enough, 2020 comes along and COVID hits.
Yeah.
And
I knew a lot of astrologers that were like, is this a world war or what is this? Like way ahead of time. And then of course we get there and it is a world war. It's a war against a virus, but it's a war nonetheless.
Well, it was also really an attack on society.
It was, absolutely. And that's what happened. And there was a lot of deception and a lot of those like still Neptune words that still resonate. However, I also believe that Neptune's job overall is to still dissolve it all away to bring in the spiritual cosmic soup. And that brings us to our next subject, huh?
Well, what we are looking at now, and astrologers have been looking at this for months and months and months, is the applying conjunction. And a conjunction is, in astrology is one planet is several degrees either on top of it or just slight separation. So Saturn, which is the planet of karma, fate, destiny, lessons learned, obstacles, disappointments, reality, okay, is aligning with Neptune, which is all about illusion and disillusion. Neptune rules the 12th house, which is our mental health. I call the 12th house, and it's just me, Lisa's got her own language for it. I call it the dungeon of the zodiac.
Oh, my goodness.
Secrets, sorrows, self-undoing institutions,
Absolutely.
karma, addictions.
It's definitely the part. So if you think about an astrology chart, and if you think about the opposite of you, that's the 7th house, which would be like it's in clear view, though. Like that there's something in there. With the 12th house, it's just out of your view, so you can really not see what's going on, and you can really shoot yourself in the foot if you're not careful.
Right. Well, one of the things about...
I like Michael Bryan's definition of the 12th house, along with South Node and Neptune, actually. He calls them the trash cans of the zodiac.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah,
South
exactly.
Node, Neptune, 12th house, trash cans of the zodiac. I'm like, I agree.
Yep. So when we have planets align with each other, the significance is very major, and things in our real lives are affected. They don't go unnoticed. No one is going to look at these major alignments as, well, nothing happened then. Oh, a lot will happen.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen is that when Neptune goes retrograde around the 6th of July, something like that.
Yes.
And then Saturn goes retrograde on the 13th, they will only be 13 minutes of arc away.
I know.
So
it's
there's
remarkable.
60 minutes of arc make a degree. So this is how close they are, but it's not a perfect conjunction, but they will come back around to next February the 20th and 26th and align. But that means for us, we are going to be feeling this into next year. We have been feeling this for months now. In fact, as the outer planets move so slowly, we've actually been getting snippets of this since 2023.
Yeah, definitely.
And I have been saying to people, first of all, I remove myself from political affiliations. Not going to go there.
Me too.
All right?
Me too.
But in terms of the way we look at everything, what I have been saying to people, and people agree, the truth is we don't know what the truth is. And that is very
How
Neptunian.
very Saturn and Neptune together for us to realize that the reality is that we don't know. And that's very Neptunian because it's that cosmic soup, it's that illusion and everybody has their own filters of illusion. Everybody does.
Absolutely.
I have my own, and I think just recognizing that we have our own is a good idea. When we think we know everything, that is when we get into trouble.
Well, that's funny because that is one of the words that he wrote here that we're going to talk about.
Oh.
Is,
Dogma.
Dogma. Yes. Yes. Now, to help you understand, every time Saturn and Neptune align, it's approximately every 36 to 37 years. I do a lot of astrological history studying. Hi, Audrey. Thank you. So the last time this happened was in 1988, 87, 88, and the Berlin Wall was taken down. That was the end of the Soviet Union, okay? They're not called that anymore.
And they were in Libra, weren't they, like at that time?
I believe they
Pretty
were.
sure, yeah.
Then we go back before that to 1952. That was the end of the Korean War, and Joseph Stalin died. Then we go back in the 20th century to 1917, and that was the end of World War I and the Germany dominance at that time.
And it was in Sagittarius in the 80s. I just thought. It took me a minute.
Now,
it wasn't Libra.
When you go
It
back,
was Saturn Pluto.
when you go back through history, believe it or not, in the around 1773, it was it was before the Revolutionary War and our independence. This happened before, so this has a huge significance on our reality, and so the studies show that this Saturn-Neptune alignment creates, as many of you like to say, as one door closes, another one opens, but it brings down obstacles. It brings down tyranny. In other words, whatever's in place that's in power that is not supposed to be there, it's not right for humanity, it's going to come down.
Yeah.
And see, we can sit back and say, oh, it would mean this or it mean that. There are so many things that this can apply to.
So many things.
So that's why, what will this be? Well, I think we're seeing so many things in action right now.
Yeah,
as
I do too. I definitely
people
think
are getting
so.
fed up with things. We've got countries going at each other.
Oh, wow.
I mean, this is...
We don't even want to start with that. Oh,
right,
wow.
right. But remember, if everyone watching had their personal charts up, we would be able to see, because I know for me, this alignment is taking place in my second house.
Oh, interesting.
Money,
Wow.
possessions, things like that. So there's some kind of reality truth that I will see with that.
Yeah.
Where is it in your chart?
In my chart, it's going into the 11th house, but it's also square my ascendant. So I feel very out of it, and because Neptune has been on that point longer than Saturn. Saturn has just joined it, and I think that I'm getting a little bit more of a clue with Saturn there, because Saturn does help bring the reality to the illusion. But I can tell you that it's been a little while, and I have really felt the Neptune. But I feel Neptune more because I have a natal Saturn Neptune square in Scorpio Aquarius, respectively. And so even when I had my second Saturn return, it wasn't like this bad, you know.
Right.
So it was, but Neptune for me is a difficult planet for me personally, because a lot of people they complain about say Pluto being on their moon or whatever. And by the way, those are hard. Those are hard.
Right.
And that's going to come up for me. It'll be opposite, because it's in Aquarius. I have a moon in Leo, so I guess I'll be probably swallowing my words at one point. But
I have Pluto on my ascendant right now.
Oh, I see. Okay. So
you talk about taking out the trash.
But you know what I find about Pluto in going into leaving a person's 12th house and going into the first house, they almost change appearance almost, and change habits and change everything, and you don't even see the person. They don't even look the same anymore, so be prepared for that.
Well, I
you
here
might
I can say,
change your entire
well,
thing.
this I can say. So I was, and Audrey's watching, and she, of course, she knows what I do. So I have been looking at my stature, and
oh, interesting.
And I've gone on a health regimen, not a diet, a complete shift of health regimen.
And that's that's also very deep and transformative rather than surface, right?
Right.
Yeah, like you're getting
So-
at the core of what you want to do rather than, oh, I'll just go on a diet to lose weight or whatever.
No.
And that's not how it works, really. I mean, I'm finding that out just in general. Like, you got to find out why you have like weight issues or what have you. And the thing is that you also know this, like all of the poisons that are diet and like all the things. If you are not like on top of the labels, you know, to look at things and see like, oh, they snuck this in, they snuck that in.
Well, that's going to come into play because with the Saturn-Neptune alignment, this is going to be revelations of truth. And I say this very gingerly, like it or not.
Yeah.
You know, with all the stuff that you just mentioned, we know they spray the sky.
Absolutely.
We know that there are different things that sometimes food is tainted. It's not pure.
Glyphosate, the sugar, like high fructose or the fake sugars like Splenda and all. I mean, these are horrible for our health, and people think, oh, I'm overweight because I eat too much or something. And maybe that's true, and maybe it's not. But I find that most of them, it's an allergic. It's almost like an allergic reaction or a sensitivity, and it's inflammation, and that will make you gain weight, like regardless of your calories. And so when I cleaned up my diet, I lost 50 pounds, and I did not count 1 calorie. It was not like that. I just ate the food that I was like. I just eliminated the bad stuff.
Right.
And I ate as much as I wanted of the good stuff, and I'm talking lots of calories, okay? Because I just burn a lot. But I still lost 50 pounds, and I thought, wow, how is that possible? And now I wonder if like everybody in America is just swollen. You know what I mean? Like and inflamed. They're
bloated.
Inflamed.
Yeah, because when you look at
it's not that they're heavy because of calories or those things. They may be heavy just for inflammation only, like I was.
Oh yeah, because if you can't see my legs, but I mean my arms aren't fat, my legs aren't fat. It's bloat.
Yeah.
So
and also we're spiritual workers too.
Right.
There is another level of that because I find that around our solar plexus, if there is stuff going on in the universe, I start getting like larger here, and I'm like, wait, what's going on? And I'm thinking, is it the full moon? No. Is it that, and then something will happen in the news, and then it'll go away. And I'm like, wow. So
Something
I
you
feel
were
like
taking on?
sometimes the solar plexus is also beefing up and figuring it out, and the body is just reacting to protect like the energy, and then once it's like not a threat anymore, then it goes away. So I do think with spiritual people there's different stuff going on.
and it can happen too.
Yeah.
So as we go
I'm very
into,
Neptune, by the way.
You're very Neptune.
No, that
that's very
observation
Neptune.
is a very Neptunian observation because it's not physical. We can't see it. Our body's physical though. That's Saturn. So, maybe there's going to be more awareness as this comes in. It'll be in 0 Aries, like late Pisces, 0 Aries, that might just be something that people are going to start looking at.
Well, they will see things again, whether depending on where they sit in perspective, things are going to open up. Like for instance, there are a lot of things that Robert Kennedy is working on regarding health. This is going to bring these things to the surface. Again, when people get exposed to something new, they either embrace it or they're skeptical about it, or even if it is reality, they just, no, I'm not having it.
Yeah.
And so when we get into Saturn and Neptune, Saturn is very authoritarian. It's this is how it is. Saturn is very parental. And so because Saturn is Capricorn, you're going to get into very dogmatic views. Now, with Neptune is more spiritual.
It is, but when it's applied as a lens over the top of everything, it can be an illusion because of our own illusion. This is where I'm going with that.
Right.
Our own illusion is like pasted over, kind of like a glamoury, so that it's like, fluffy rainbows or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So it can be like, it's spirit, But I think that it's more of like the cosmic soup versus like religion, which is like a system to understand spirit, right?
Right.
It's more like it's just the actual matter of like what's going on. It's where we all draw from. It's like where we have ideas before like it becomes this table. Like this is Saturn, right? And Neptune is like the idea. So
in the first National Treasure movie with Nicolas Cage.
I remember that movie.
So remember when they got lenses, and the blue lens and the red lens, and they were able to see print they couldn't see. Well, that is what's going to happen, because if we're just looking at through Saturn's lens, then this is going to be the hardcore touch it, taste it, feel it. That doesn't exist. If we're just looking through Neptune's lens, then it's going to be all airy-fairy and fantasy-filled and very delusional.
It'll be like my square, my natal square that I was telling you about, like where I saw reality here and like fantasy here, and I didn't see in between. And it took me like a lot of my life, probably Saturn return, to figure out, might be better to coordinate these things. And it's still an effort for me because it's square in my natal chart, so I'm always trying.
Right. Well,
maybe the conjunction will help though, and especially in my 11th house of gain, so.
The other thing, Lisa, and this is talk that you're familiar with, and this is just throwing it out there. With Saturn and Neptune, this is part of that. The conversations over the last 3 years about the separation from the 3D world into 5D?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I definitely think that's a part of the ascension. Yes, I definitely think. And especially on July 7th when Uranus gets to Gemini, because it'll be making that sextile, and all of the planets are going to be in fire and air signs instead of the water and earth signs that we've had for like a really long time. We already know about Pluto being in Aquarius. Probably have already talked about that on some of your prior shows. We've had, now we're doing Neptune and Saturn, and it's a big thing. Then when Uranus gets to Gemini, it's gonna be on. It's gonna be on. It's gonna be a very big, and I mean we already knew about the technology jump that would probably happen for the next 20 years from the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction back in the winter solstice of 2020. That is the signature for the next 20 years, like according to that, and it's going to be in air signs for the next 400 years, where it was in earth signs prior. Then we have, Uranus coming into Gemini. I mean, it's gonna like be lightning for whatever. So I have a feeling, we're already seeing a little bit of AI, and we're seeing all the trouble that's getting us into as well, right? But it's going to get bigger and bigger because of Uranus and Gemini, the Saturn Neptune, it's 0 Aries. I mean, basically, and it's hovering back and forth, and then Pluto and Aquarius. I mean, it's going to be on, and I feel like, because I think like that a lot of people might find that really scary. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
sure.
And especially if you're older and you weren't raised with, some of these types of things, and nobody's had AI. I mean, so these are really interesting concepts for us to, kind of wrap our brain around. And I think that it's really important that we just keep a really positive, uplifted attitude about, no, this is going to help humanity. Yeah, maybe there's some bugs to work out. It's not perfect, right. But we got to just keep going and just embrace that and allow for, it to actually help humanity instead of stealing our creativity, which is what, some people have already been seeing this happen. We need to have it be where it enhances our creativity.
Sure.
And frees us up. Go ahead.
Well, with the Uranus going into Gemini, Gemini rules the 3rd house, which is what we learn primarily, how we think, and then how we communicate. And anything with Uranus is all of a sudden it's like an earthquake. So there's some kind of mind expansion.
Like Gemini isn't enough electricity by itself.
Right. So there's going to be, and it also means that people's voices, people will say things all of a sudden. It's like cosmic Tourette's.
Yeah, it will be like that. I could see that. Thankfully, there's a sextile and a trine happening with the Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus. I mean, luckily they're making good aspects to this, because I think it could be a lot more off the chain.
If it were squares.
My gosh.
So if it was
or oppositions.
A sextile is a 60-degree angle.
Yeah.
Which is an angle of ease and flow, but a trine is a
even
120-degree angle where everything seems to work. Now, if we have a square, a 90-degree angle, that's a box. That is extremely challenging.
Very challenging.
The conjunction that we're talking about, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, when two planets align next to each other, it really intensifies the energy of both planets.
The strongest aspect is the conjunction.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because it's almost, if you think of it like this, it's almost like they're fighting for the same space.
Here, we're going to put your stuff in the middle.
There we go. So, as we said, both planets, by the time we get to July 13th, will be in retrograde. And as we get into the fall, hi Karen, thanks for watching. As we get into the fall, then what will happen is we'll get a little bit of a break. They'll back away from each other, but once they go direct, as we get into...
Well, they're going to go back to Pisces in the fall, too.
Yes.
So we're going to have one last little round with Pisces of like everybody can go back to sleep for a minute, not for very long, and then it's on, like when it's back in Aries. Wow.
Yeah, whatever, that was well said. So whatever seems to take the pot off boil, it's not going to stay off boil.
It's not going to stay off boil. You might get a little bit of a break during the fall, but not very long. Hi, Tony.
When it comes to...
Aw, it's nice to see him.
I
haven't seen him since 2010.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
It said, thank you for watching.
Yeah.
When planets retrograde, so if you have something challenging in your chart, okay?
Yeah.
So,
and I do.
Right.
So don't worry about it.
when the planets are moving forward and they hit an aspect, then if you handle that aspect correctly or the best you can, when it retrogrades and comes back over that aspect, then that wave of energy is less. And then when it comes back forward again after the retrograde, hitting that same spot, it's really like low tide at that point.
Yeah.
However, if you don't handle it on the first passing and ignore it or abuse it, when it picks up speed, the pendulum comes back. The second
time, or the third time, really.
Now it's picking up energy. Now you are getting whacked on this side of the face. And then as it comes back through, it's going to hit you again.
Yeah.
So we have to look at whatever this reality is that Saturn and Neptune will expose, then we need to pay attention and look at how are we going to handle this.
Yeah.
Because there is a little bit of, with Saturn and Neptune, and as I wrote here, dogma versus spirituality, there is going to be a little bit of a clash of beliefs.
Yes.
That's going on here.
Oh, absolutely.
And this, as we said a couple minutes ago,
there might be also a conjoining of belief, though, because of the conjunction. So, maybe there's going to be, where somebody does see common ground because they're going to have that veil kind of, more transparent. Like, when Saturn comes and Neptune comes, it's going to be reality meets the veil. And so there might be some actual viewpoints that start changing from people.
Well, I want to say,
and especially
this.
in Aries, because it's new energy, enlightenment. Oh, and with Gemini too. Gemini, Uranus.
The exact words. I got it.
Okay.
So about the time that these two planets aligned with each other, and it's close, not accurate, but it took place on a spiritual level. And I haven't even said this. I just thought of this. Haven't said it to my wife.
Oh.
The harmonic convergence.
Oh, I
was
remember
at that time.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. And then the harmonic concordance was in 2003, as I recall.
Sounds right.
2003, 2004. Yeah. Wow. Very interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there is some kind of not just revelation, but a spiritual revolution
Wow.
taking place, because at the time of the American Revolution is one of those times when Saturn and Neptune got together with each other.
Yeah.
Look, when Pluto a few months back went into Aquarius, okay, and it went back into Capricorn and into Aquarius, and it's in Aquarius now all the way until 2044.
Right.
What a lot of astrologers believe is that we really are in the Aquarian age now.
So, yeah, I guess that it could be your point of view about what defines that. Some people think with the precession of the equinoxes that we're not quite in it, like we're at the end of Pisces and we have 300 years still, like to get to Aquarius. I mean, looking at it, you know what? I think that we could have, like, even if we could agree that this is a mini age of Aquarius, because we have Pluto in Aquarius.
Right.
We have, the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction for the first time in gazillions of years was in Aquarius. So I think we have an age of Aquarius theme, regardless of what astrologers define as the age of Aquarius. There are astrologers that feel like it started in Aquarius for the Industrial Revolution. Then there's some that are like, no, it was the 60s. And then there was some that are like, no, when the tech, .com and internet. And now we're having an AI thing, there's so many things that we could say that's the definition. To me, it doesn't matter. I think that regardless, I do believe that we are in Aquarian energy, no matter what the origin of the signature is. I definitely feel that. And there's a lot of people that are not, I guess that they could be, like I said, like earlier, they could be afraid of some of the changes that are coming.
Sure.
Because Aquarius represents the future.
Right.
Represents technology and invention and, all of those types of things.
I asked Merlin,
Oh, yeah, because you channel Merlin. Amazing channel of Merlin, right? This right here.
So thank you, Lisa. So I asked Merlin recently, why is the current administration making so many changes so rapidly? And he said, this is what Merlin said to me, because Merlin doesn't subscribe to human emotion or
he doesn't. No.
So
he's so stoic. Oh my goodness.
He said that a time variant has been created over the last 100 years or so that has bent everything in such a way that we're so far off track that if we don't make changes rapidly, that it would be like my great grandchildren would have problems. That they have to get things back, think they're undoing things that have been done a couple hundred years ago, that people just allowed to happen. That was
very interesting.
Looked at as part of the norm.
Yeah.
And so there's this taking this tangent, this variant, and pushing it back. And that's how he explained it to me. That's how far off track we as a planet are right now.
Interesting, because it was almost 100 years ago that the 1929 crash happened.
That's right.
Right.
Yep.
So it would have been because I'm guessing that he estimated 100 years ago. I'm not thinking that he meant exactly 100 years. So I'm getting that that's when a lot of things changed. There was a lot of change that happened when, everything was like, let's party, and, the 20s, and then boom, reality, very similar to what we're talking about. And I was just thinking about, what if the people that were born in 87 and 88 with that conjunction are going to be playing a role in how this unfolds with the new technology and all of this type of stuff. My son, I don't know if you're watching, Aaron, but he has July 1988 chart, okay? And his rising is Sagittarius, right where the Uranus and Saturn were conjunct. And then Neptune is right barely into Capricorn. So he's got that whole energy right there. And I'm thinking about, I wonder what I should probably call him and say, hey, how are we going to fix all of this stuff like with the world, because he's in tech too. Like that's
Sure.
kind of interesting. So it's just something I thought about. So any of you 1987, 88 folks that are feeling like that they know like kind of the way to do the direction, we should probably like listen to you.
So when it comes to this information that we're sharing, and there, I really do believe there's something that's going to be very uplifting that
I
comes
do
from
too.
this. I really do. But some people, as you say, just using a different word, may find it very daunting.
Yeah.
How do we help people work through this
Yeah.
this time that's of the next few weeks and then all the way into next February?
Exactly. We were talking about on the phone that we were talking about how it is like when you have problems in your house or when you want to remodel your house, and that you have to rip apart your like the structure, Saturn, of the house, and then the Neptune part comes in, like where you see, the water damage or like whatever it is. And it gets uglier and uglier the more that you rip down, the more that, and anybody that's even been through a good remodeling experience can probably think of all the disruption and all of the chaos, and like nothing's in its place, and it's messy, it's disorganized, it's chaos. You can't find anything, you can't do this and all of the things. But once it gets back to where it's built really well, it's a much up-leveled improvement. And so we were hoping that maybe this could be like used in an energy of like, let's remodel the area of the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in your chart. So whatever area of life that is, that's the part that you are remodeling, and that it's going to be a good outcome.
Well, let's talk about that, because there are people that watch that know their charts. So
Yeah.
let's say it like
That'd be
this.
awesome. Yeah, like
So-
I'd like to see like, somebody with their chart and seeing how Saturn and Neptune is affecting them right now.
So if a person has, and we have to speak astrologically theoretical, so if a person has
Correct. Yeah.
currently the Saturn-Neptune conjunction happening in their first house, which is the house of self,
Yeah.
what would that person experience?
I would think that could be like remodeling yourself, your body, and not necessarily like with surgery or something like that. I'm talking about like you could do outer appearances, but you could also go deeper than that. You can go like not just Neptune, you can do the Saturn, you can do the part where you're like restructuring like not only your body, but like your image or things like that.
Sure.
Like I could see that happening. If it's like their second house, like that would be in the area of resources. So you'd like redo all of your resources. Neptune also ruling like oils or, things like that.
Right.
There might be like some opportunities with energy or something like that could be happening, because I know that we're going to be like transferring our oil to the USA like in this administration, like that's what's been happening. So I wonder about like stuff like that. If it's in the fifth house, like
Well,
that
would you
could
go to
be
the
like
third house?
Yeah, third house. Oh, yeah, now that's interesting. How do we remodel the third house? That could be like our neighborhoods or
Right.
anything in our familiar environment. Also, it could be about communicating. So it might be that somebody's inspired to write a book about like maybe like something that was not understood very well, like something that Saturn and Neptune are kind of coming together on to like make that like an actual communication, and then communicating it and putting it out to the world through the net, through, however it works. I know that
I'll tell
books,
you something.
like writing books, being an author is third house, but like publishing is the ninth house.
Right.
And Jupiter is part of publishing.
Well, let me offer this on that, because the third house also is more like primal education. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this could be a big shift in our education systems.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people out there that clamor for the schools to start teaching critical thinking as opposed to memorization. this could have an effect on
Oh,
that.
wow, that could be cool. And an area, like, because I think about the conjunction in Aries, like, because that's going to be more of, like, really where the conjunction energy is. It's going to be new. Like, it'll be something that starts over, that's the end, and then the beginning, like, we're starting over,
Right.
you know?
And
So it could flush the whole thing and start over. Wow.
And as you're watching, the reason Lisa says something new, because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac.
That's right.
So that's
It
where-
initiates, too.
right. Okay, fourth house, which is the house of family.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's literally the remodeling of the house.
Right.
Like, that could be, like,
Right.
literally what's happening there.
It could also bring up reality to disillusionment about your upbringing,
Yeah.
because the fourth house is the family you grow up
Yeah,
with,
sure.
and that could be father issues.
I mean, that could be a person that decides that they're going to sell their house and live at the beach too, because like Neptune being in the fourth house, because it's going to be there for a long time. That would be
That's
like
right.
something that would like integrate the water element, meaning Neptune element. And by the way, you can also, like, if you are not careful, you can experience a lot of plumbing issues or things like that when Neptune is transiting your fourth house. So just FYI on that.
Yeah, and because the fourth
Give
house,
Neptune a job. Okay. Give him a job. And if you live by the beach, like, that's a good job, right? or figure out a Neptunian or a water feature or something like that, because you got to give Neptune a job or else he gets into trouble and makes like plumbing stuff and
Right.
stuff like that.
and the fourth house is also the moon Cancerian house, so this could be some kind of revelation of feelings coming up to the surface that have been buried.
I wonder if some people could actually make breakthroughs in their genealogy. I think of genealogy as a Saturnian thing, and Neptune allowing other, resources to come forward, and so it might even be something like that. So,
It could. Fifth house, which is relationships, it's your children.
children. I also think of gambling and things that are fun. Like, I always think of things that are fun for the fifth house. I think of art and projects and things like that. So Saturn, Neptune, if you have an idea in your head, you need to paint it or something. And I'm thinking of painting or photography. That's a very Neptunian part. Like, they could do photography. So
Right.
yeah, get out and do your creating, and maybe you'll have like a beautiful like piece of art or creation that you make
yeah.
in the process.
And the other thing is, the fifth house rules the entertainment industry. This could also be truth and revelations in some nonsense that's been looked at.
And also probably a new way, Aries, a new way of structurizing and doing entertainment, like
Sure.
and the whole film industry. By the way, film also ruled by Neptune.
And the fifth house, the fifth house is dating, pleasure, hedonism.
Yeah.
This could also be where there's some form of AI, like you don't really go on
Yeah.
vacation. You go into
Oh,
a room and you have the sensory experience of
Yeah.
that you're
Virtual reality.
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's very fifth house too.
It's also sports.
Oh, right, because like that's considered entertainment. Yeah. I mean, not to me, but because that's but,
Right, oh, of
but
course.
other people think that that's fun.
No, and it's the cardiovascular system. So there could be discoveries
Yeah.
about the heart and the circulatory
Yeah,
system.
just the circulatory. Yeah.
And then, okay, sixth house.
Sixth house would be the health, I would think,
Right.
and also methods of work. So if there is methods of work that are not working anymore, and like the Neptune, it's not going to work anymore because Saturn is there shining a flashlight on it. It might be the remodeling of work, like routines. Is this necessary? Like all of those kinds of like reevaluating. Also, any kinds of habits. So these are like things that if you are like wanting to start a diet or something like that, it would be, and by the way, with Neptune there, like you want to get clear about, like read the labels or, what I
Right,
mean? Like,
yeah.
cause there's hiding stuff in there or whatever that, that's about. But what I also like about Neptune is you can use like subliminals or like other things so
Sure.
that you can like like it isn't just Saturn stuff that you got to do. You can do Neptune stuff like having, like meditation music and, all of these types of things in order to achieve health and also work and service, those types of areas. I also think about, and I mean, I guess that this is more 12th house, like with mental health, like and stuff like that, because it's physical health more with the 6th house.
But when people have
animals too.
Yeah, domesticated animals.
Domestic animals, servants, that's what they are. They're servants.
But when Neptune is in your 6th house, you do have to be careful of how your mental health affects your physical health.
Absolutely. Yeah.
7th house, partners. So there might be some reality checks about things that weren't like visible before with partnership. Right.
Also, but we can't like just leave out Neptune and like, oh, he's the enemy and Saturn is like the one that's going to be shining a light on everything. No, actually what we want to do is give Neptune a job. So this would be about like deepening your spirituality with your partner. Okay.
Sure.
And maybe having structure of how to do that like in place so that you guys have routines. Routines is more 6th house, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I do know
more
what you mean.
about, like that type of thing. Also, if you're not partnered, you may bring in like, so Saturn, like more structured, more authority, like could be older partner, and Neptune might be like in your belief system or, something that has to do with, things that are not physical.
Well, and the other thing too with Saturn and Neptune in the 7th house is anyone who would be engaging in some kind of contract better be looking at the reality of it.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's not a bad idea to double check contracts, like meaning to like run them through a different, like a pair of eyes, hopefully trained like another attorney or something like that. That's a good idea.
Yep.
That's a very good idea. Yeah.
8th house.
Well, there's the other people's money moment,
Right.
also the occult. So that might also be like where people are able to like make this, like either like have the understanding, like where the understanding of all that esoteric stuff that's in the 8th house, like finally it gels. Like it could be like something where they finally understand it. But in the area of like getting your bills and all of that stuff in order, in my experience, when Neptune transits the 8th house, like before Saturn got there, you might be not really mindful of like how much bills are running up or, things like that.
Sure.
And then Saturn comes and says, reality check. We got to get the bills back in order. So then you've been working. So one of the things about Saturn is where you need to work. And so it's about, getting that back into control. Once Saturn leaves, though, like, and Neptune is there, it's going to be difficult to, keep Neptune from, like, dissolving that, like that hole, that endless pocket, where money goes out. So what you want to do is pay attention to Neptune. I'm telling you from experience here. I had this transit back when I was in my 30s, and it was, I no matter how much Saturn stuff I did, Neptune dissolved it. Okay, granted, I have the square in my natal chart, but what I did was I started working with Neptune a lot, and it helped. It had it be where I spiritually had money come in. Well, wait, that's the other kind of thing, because inheritance can also come.
My teacher, when it comes to anything with Neptune and money, described it as eating broth with a fork.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would say that that's pretty accurate. So I guess you could get a little bit of broth on that little curved part of the fork, but that would be about it.
Well, and because the 8th house is also investment, stocks, bonds, real estate, things of that nature, that you'd have to pay close attention to where you have your money invested. The other thing about that, the 8th house, which it's weird. The 8th
and
house
again,
is
the oil thing might be something where people want to move their money around with those kinds of things because of. Some people put Pluto as the ruler of that, though, too.
Yeah, there's different overlays.
Yeah.
8th house is sex.
Sex for legacy. I always think of sex as pleasure in the 5th house.
Right.
Like, and that makes
playful.
children, so it's in the right house. And then, but sex for legacy, so that you have an heir to, pass
Right.
things down to. That's 8th house.
Because
That's definitely 8th
it's
house.
a Scorpio natural house.
Yeah, it's the natural house of Scorpio. Yeah.
And then it's also accidents, public conveyances, surgery. So there could be breakthroughs in surgery
Yeah.
with if you have it in the 8th house.
Yeah.
And of course we know it's the house of death, transformation.
Absolutely.
Things of that nature. It's a weird house because
It's a very strange house. I think all the water houses are strange houses because we think about the one for home, the 4th house, but it also is like your ancestors, the whole line and with father and land and just, there's so many meanings. 8th house has a lot of meanings too.
Yep. Yeah, and they're unrelated.
And it's also the place, I remember Buzz Myers. Did you ever remember him, from back in the day? Did you ever listen to any of his tapes?
No.
He was amazing. So one of the things that I loved what he said was that the ancestors are in the 4th house. But he also talked about the 8th house as being something that we have to let go of. And then the 12th house is the gifts that we don't know that they're there that we need to integrate, but then they can't be kicking ourselves in the tail. So we have talent sometimes that is in the 12th house that we're not aware of.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We've got 4 minutes left, so we got to get through. So what's 9th house?
9th house would be the higher learning. So this would be like getting and again, I think with Neptune, this would be like bringing spirituality up to another higher level through healthy structure, things like that.
Right.
I could see that. Also, if traveling, you would do a lot, maybe more ocean type environments or travel on ships and things like that. 10th house would be interesting.
Career
I would
and
think
reputation.
that, and Neptune, if you, again, this is like Neptune. We talked about Saturn being when it's on the top of the chart. You get a lot of attention there, and people make an example of you or those types of things, and that can work both ways. And with Neptune there, I would say that you got to be careful with, how the unseen is also with the seen, with the it's not just the facts. It's going to be things that you can't see. And so, but if you can integrate all of those things together, I think it could really help a person really explode in their and especially if their career is something that is unseen, like spiritual.
Well, and also
that.
Because Saturn represents the 10th house.
It does anyway. Yeah, sure.
So we could see with Neptune and Saturn, for anybody, not just in someone's 10th house, we could see a breakdown in corporate structure as we know it, and reformation of that.
I like it.
11th house.
11th house is our groups, it's our friends, it's our goals, meaning, our wishes and goals. And so, again, bringing reality to the fantasy. Okay, I think that in the area of friends, I could think of having some friends that are super Saturnian and some friends that are super Neptunian, something like that. You might even be able to, again, join those two things together. There might be new groups that form that have elements of Saturn and Neptune integrated in a new way because of Aries. So
Sure.
Yeah.
New friendships. And
Yeah.
also, it's funny that the 5th house, along with relationship, we call the love you give, and the 11th house is the love you receive.
In a lot of ways, yeah, it can be. And especially, although, I see with groups, it could be where everybody's involved with transaction. 12th house, that's the hardest house, right? Because it's the one that's over here that we don't see. So my feeling is that it will have to bring attention to the unphysical. It would have to be somebody, they're probably having some psychic awakenings. They're probably having moments where they have to make some kind of structure or routines. Okay, that's a Saturn piece, so that they could manage that stuff that nobody sees.
Right.
Those relationships that are on the other side. That's the house of past lives. There might be karma that they're processing, things like that. I'll let you I'll let you like expand on that if you like.
Well, the 12th house, she referred it to trash. I call the 12th house
the trash can.
the dungeon of the zodiac. Secret, sorrow, self-undoing, institutions,
well,
karma,
and also
addictions.
removed from society, like
Right.
so any kind of institution like hospitals,
Jails.
jails,
Yes.
mental institutions where and I mean it could be anything where things are removed from the public. So it could even be like a monastery,
Absolutely, and
something
also,
that's out of the public.
and people have to be careful of with
And that's the secret enemy house too.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hidden enemies.
Hidden
And
enemies.
people have to be
Open
careful.
enemies are the seventh
Seventh
house.
house. Yes.
Hidden enemies are the 12th house.
Is
Our
it-
shadow is in the 12th house. We see it reflected in the 7th house, but shadow is in the 12th house. Too.
Isn't it kind of humorous that the house of marriage is also the house of open enemies?
Yeah. Isn't it funny that the house of romantic partners is also the house of children?
Right. Well, they get here somehow.
They get here somehow. It's not through the 7th house.
No, it's not.
It's through the 5th house.
And the last thing I want to say about the 12th house is, with this coming up, people will have to be careful with man-made drugs, not natural stuff that's grown. They have to be even more careful with the
Yeah, because Neptune rules
lab-made.
chemistry.
Yep, lab-made. So wherever Saturn and Neptune is in your chart, take a look at it. Now, as we're closing, either one of us can do readings for you. Lisa, before we say goodbye, tell people how they can how can they contact you?
Timingmagic.com. Many of you already know me on Facebook, and you can just go to the link tree. Timing Magic is my @handle, and you'll find all my social media there.
Wonderful.
I was just going to say Saturn, Neptune. How come I didn't think of this? The changes in pharma. Hello.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. Big changes coming. A lot of changes. What I can say as we close is just be open-minded. Don't take on the dogma part of Saturn. Just be open-minded to
Right.
what's coming down. Because ultimately...
And don't be fooled by illusion either.
Right. But divine right action is taking place for our greatest and highest good.
I think so,
Do
too.
remember that. No matter where you stand with things are unfolding, and we will see the truth of things.
I actually believe that the best things are happening yet, even if I don't know what they look like at all. I mean, my guides have been like, bookmark this part of your book and just walk away and come back. And when
Right.
you open the book again, you're not going to recognize the world. Like, that's what they told me the other day. And I'm like, okay.
Expect
So
the
just
best.
be open. Yeah.
We've got to say goodbye. Lisa, thank you so much
Yeah,
for coming
thank
on.
you. I'm
It's a
so
l-
happy to be here.
And when do you leave town?
At the end of July. So, if you guys want in-person readings, I can do them at Nick's office. I usually do them online with StreamYard, because I
Sure.
can upload the charts and we can do it online. But, are you going to be having a psychic fair again at some point?
No, not immediately.
No,
but,
okay, that's fine.
But we do have a class coming up.
Okay.
Saturday, July 19th is Tarot, using the
Wonderful.
Rider deck. So, and there are seats open for that. Anyway, I want to say thank you again, and maybe before you go out of town, you come back on the show, because I'm
Okay.
sure that over the next couple weeks, this stuff is going to heat up, and
Oh,
probably
yeah.
be good to
We'll
talk
probably
about
have
it
other
then.
topics as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, let's do that. Let's plan on that. Thank you, everybody, for watching. It's good to be back on the show. I will see you again very soon. And remember, as always, take care of yourselves. Please take care of each other. I'm Nick Newmont. This is Lisa Allen, Mainstream Metaphysics, here in the studios of Conejo Valley Talk Radio. Thank you, Ed, as always.
Thank you, Ed.
See you soon. Good night,
Bye.
everyone.
Good night.